Welcome to Pack Your Bags with Tui. I'm Russell Kane. This is where I dig through celebrity suitcases item by item. Each episode, I chat with fascinating folks from sport, food, entertainment, you name it, about their 3 must-pack travel items. Some bring quirky mementos, others share clever hacks. Whatever they pack, it tells us something about how they see the world, whether they're roughing it outdoors or more typically enjoying the finer things in 5-star comfort. We'll also tackle your travel dilemmas and wrap things up with a laid-back quickfire round. So settle in and enjoy as we unpack another guest's travel essentials and maybe a bit of their life story along the way. Today, I'm joined by journalist, author, breakfast TV royalty, hot cover model, Ben Shephard. I would ask you how you're doing, but just the cover of Men's Health tells me how you're doing. Pretty ripped and well by the sounds of it. No, but how are you?
Very good, thank you, Russell. Lovely to be here. I don't think I've ever been described as a hot cover model before.
Listen,
That's the first.
I'm 50 in August. So
how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling like I'm going to write to the editor of Men's Health.
Well, I tell you what, having a topless photo shoot on the agenda is definitely very motivating.
I bet your DMs have been confusing.
There's a very affectionate lot of people out there.
A lot of men, I would imagine.
All sorts, yeah. I mean, everyone's pretty, there's no discretion. They've been very complimentary. Some more elaborate in their detail.
Yes,
of
I
their
bet.
compliments.
But when you describe someone as journalist, author, or in my case, comedian, there is a stereotype where people are surprised that you take any care. It is more powerful when I'm a journalist and author and whoosh, also rips. I'm the same, a comedian. I'm supposed to be a blob with a Ginster's pasty in my hand.
You're probably right. Although I think that side of my life, my sort of TV life and stuff, I've never been quiet about the fact I've always sport, exercise, health and fitness has been huge for me.
Really want to get into exercise and travel and fitness and the interaction of those when we get into our chat in a minute. But before we do that, every episode, a listener drops a travel dilemma and our guest dives in with their hot take. And we don't need expert advice.
That's good.
But given your breadth of journalistic experience, I'm intrigued to see what you're going to say. Okay, here is the dilemma. My son is bringing his girlfriend on our family holiday. This is his first girlfriend, and we haven't spent much time with her. Any advice on how I can make sure she feels included into the family and we all have a lovely holiday with her?
I was going to say, do they get the same room? Do they get to share the room? I mean,
there's no age thing.
There's no age thing. So
I'm going to guess he's probably about 18 then.
So we've had a couple of moments like this with our two. We've got 2 boys, and we've had a couple of moments like this.
Well, how old are your boys?
So they're 20 and 18.
Right. Okay. So you're in the eye of this storm.
Yes. So I feel your worry and concern. I think gauging it with your son is a really good thing. Try and understand what it is that she likes. Make sure that she's been able to be clear about what food she eats and all that sort of. Make sure that you're sort of making allowances for the things that she might like to do as well. Most of the time, I think if a son's bringing on a girlfriend, they just want to get muck in. I'd like to think that. So, I would never treat any of the girls that have come on holiday with us any differently.
That must be pretty full on the first time you're on holiday and your boy's coming down the stairs with a sort of his partner as well. It sort of shifts thing from my teenage son to adult.
Yeah. And we had a moment on a holiday a few years back where my eldest son had his girlfriend and they were staying together, and his brother was much younger and my godson was with us as well. And we basically said to our eldest, look, just be conscious because your brother's younger than you and my godson's even younger as well. We don't want them to get the wrong impression. So, don't necessarily spend all your time in the bedroom with your girlfriend, come out and be with the others. And then so we, so that doesn't become a thing. And literally the first morning I went downstairs and all of them were in bed together, like just messing around and chatting and stuff. And you suddenly realise, actually, I think as parents, we massively overthink it. As long as you've spoken to the parents of the partner, and everybody understands what they would like it to be like, what everyone's accepting it to be like, then you can trust the kids.
Even when I was 19, it was like my girlfriend slept. I slept on the sofa bed. My girlfriend
and you
slept
weren't
in the bedroom.
allowed.
That was it. Because my brother was 3 years younger than me. So we're going to need to rifle through your must-pack items. What have you got first?
Well, you talked about sort of fitness and travel, and they are major drivers for me. I've got a few things here. The first thing I'll bring out, which is a fitness thing, which I always take, is this.
It is a pink skipping rope, listeners.
Pink whip. Lauren Jumps, who is, I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but she's an amazing skipper.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She is absolutely awesome. She gave me one of her skipping ropes because we had her on the show. I really got into skipping when I had a boxing contest for Sport Relief years and years and years ago. And I love it. I love any sort of cardio, but they're so practical, skipping ropes, because you can wrap them up in a tiny little ball, take them anywhere. And even if you're in a hotel room, you haven't got any time, you can just bang out 10, 15 minutes. I've got a great skipping app that I use, Cross Ropes app. I've got ropes that are weighted as well. So I just love it as a form of cardio. And it also makes you smile because it reminds you of being a kid.
Yeah. Sometimes when I talk about my fitness regime or drop a needy topless selfie on Instagram under a disguised context of being for something else, just so I can harvest likes.
Cheeky little thirst trap.
I get back, well, it's all right for you can afford gym membership and this, but 90% of my workouts are done in standard sized hotel rooms that have been allocated by the gig using devices such as a skipping rope or resistance bands.
Yes, exactly.
Or the little handles so you can get greater depth on your push up. And if the wardrobe doors are strong enough, pull-ups.
You can pull off it.
You've got a pull-up station.
I think one of the best ways of seeing any new city, any new town, any new place is going for a run.
What a great idea.
And
we have not had that before.
Have you not?
No one said about running through a city as a way to see it.
I just think it's the most brilliant way of learning, getting a bit of geography, learning where you are in a city, but also seeing some of the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I love getting a little bit lost and then being able to find my way back to where I've been staying and then doing a little bit more exploring. And that doesn't cost you anything. You just got to put your trainers on.
The most interesting version of that I did, I was being flown in for 5 gigs in Brisbane, Australia.
Oh, wow.
And obviously there's massive jet lag, and I needed to be on British time when I landed back for a big project. So I thought, I'm just going to stay on British time, pretend that my gig is 9 a.m. Yeah. I'm great 9 a.m. Yeah. So that meant I had to stay up all night. And I went running at 2 a.m. through an empty city.
Amazing.
It was like a private tour of the city, across their bridge, past the QPAC Centre, under their big wheel. And it was like I was on a private tour on my own.
It feels exciting and the voyage of discovery.
Tip. Now, you caught the travel bug early. Tell us about your adventures straight out of school. You went to America, Australia, New Zealand and Thailand, aged 18, 19?
Yeah, 18. I took a year out. My brother had taken a year out and I sort of followed in his footpath. I was desperate. My sister had done it as well. I was desperate to go traveling.
Were you scared or nervous about being on your own the first time you went abroad?
Was I scared? Maybe a little bit. There's a bit of, I've never been the sort of person that's nervous about trying something and being, it's the excitement of doing those things. What I realized as soon as you start exploring that part of the world, particularly the Southern Hemisphere, is it's so set up for travelers.
Yeah.
Traveling on your own, traveling in groups.
Were you on your own or were you?
I was on my own. A friend came out and joined me for a little bit and then went, but I was on my own. I had family.
So you went off aged like 18, walkabout on your own?
Yeah.
18?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But I had family in Australia, so I went there and saw them as well, which was great. But I just went off on my own. Do you know what's interesting though, Russell? My son Sam did it 2 years ago. And he went to Auckland and he was on his own and he phoned us up. And you could tell he was he was getting on a bus trip the next day. So he was going to be with a group of 30 people or whatever. But that day he was on his own. He was really tired. And I think if we'd said to him at that moment, we FaceTimed him. If we'd said to him, do you know what? Just come home, mate. Because he looked terrified. He'd never done anything like this. I think he would have come back. And what happened was I said, right, go and brush your teeth. Go for a walk, have a look at where somewhere in Auckland to go and see. Just go and have a wander around. Just take the city in a little bit, and then come back if you're a bit jet lagged to have a sleep. You're going to meet everybody a little bit later on. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I promise you'll be fine. He did exactly that, and he went back and he was brushing his teeth and he was going to go to bed. And these two lads, they were sharing. It was a hostel sharing a bathroom. And they said, "Oh, what you've just got here? Yeah, brilliant. Where are you from? I'm from London. Oh, brilliant. We're from wherever." He said, "What are you up to?" He said, "Oh, I was just going to have a sleep." He said, "Oh, we're going for a drink. Do you want to come with us?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I'll come with it." He sent us a picture of him 3:00 in the morning in Auckland.
That's how
with
you
these
do
two
it.
lads having a whale of a time straight away.
Yeah.
And it's the fear of the anticipation is the thing. That's the scary bit. But once you get past that, you start meeting people. Then the momentum builds. And he had the most brilliant trip. And it just reminded me of my experience as well. Set a few things up along the way, but just be brave and make that first step.
And there's lots of evidence that the younger a person is, the harder they're finding those processes, because it's not our fault, but we're exposing them less to the outdoor world. So they haven't been over the park making buddies between 11 because it's roadblocks and headsets. So it's harder to push yourself into learning those skills.
Yeah, too right. And you can see it. I mean, my younger son, who's 18, he's going traveling and he'll have the benefit of knowing what his brother's done before him. Like I had the benefit of knowing what my brother and my sister had done, even though they're much older than me. My sister's just a year, but my brother did more of the trip that I did. And he's just better because he's a younger brother as well. So he's had his big brother and all his mates around him. I'm still so incredibly proud of what Sam managed to do because he had the most brilliant trip. But I think that first day, you've got to be brave. There's a couple of occasions when you're going to be scared. Yeah. And there undoubtedly was for me. They introduced airport tax, which is a really normal thing now. While I was in New Zealand, they introduced airport tax. I had no money left in my wallet. It was $5 to fly back from New Zealand, get back to Australia, where I could go to my aunt's house and my mum and dad had sent them some money because I'd run out of money. I literally had no money.
How did you solve that?
I've met a friend who I'd been traveling with and I asked him if he could lend me some money. He said he didn't have any money on him either. And then I went back to the airport and I took one last Hail Mary with my Cashpoint card. It wasn't like a credit card. I had no credit card, no mobile phone back then. It was early 90s. And I managed somehow to get, I don't know what, it's like the last dregs in my bank account. I got $5 from the machine. I think it was probably more than that. And I went to the guy, I said, look, I've got $5. That's all I've got, but I need to go. And it was back in the day when it had just been introduced and they said, okay. And they let me pay the airport tax with $5. And I kind of think about, it would be so easy now for one of the boys to say, oh, I'm out of money, Dad. And you could wire the money straight away digitally. There was no chance of any of that happening.
You've learned problem solving.
You had to do it. I had to find a way around that. And luckily enough, I found the extra $5. And the guy at immigration, whatever, airport tax went, okay, fair enough. I can see you're pretty distraught and you need to get back to Australia. Yeah. And actually, we want you out of the country. If you've got no money, we don't want you staying here. And I managed to fly and get back to my aunt's and get a bit more.
And
cash.
that's the skills. We have to sort of create artificial situations. So my daughter's 9, but so I do think we're doing them a disservice sometimes when we make travel too easy for them because travel can teach you. Clearly, you've got a lot from it. It's taught you a lot.
Yeah. I'm not the most sort of prepared person, but you have to be when you
worked in a French chateau as well, right?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What was that like?
It was incredible. I was a stagiaire. So basically somebody who's there to do tours around the cellars, to do wine tastings and sell wine in this beautiful pink chateau near Bordeaux called Chateau Luden. And it was on the Gironde and it's a 16-bed chateau. And I lived on the grounds in a worker's hut. I did the harvest, drank a lot of wine. I lived with a Danish guy and a Dutch girl called Ineke, and he was called Bent, and we just had the best summer. It was ridiculous.
And now that your boys are older, are you a bit more checking your backpack back on and exploring again? Or
No, probably not. The big difference from when I was traveling on my own to traveling now with children is my wife is involved. So everything is organized and prepared and ready to go. And we can lean on her for destination flights. I mean, this is how bad I am. Like my issues with booking things and ADHD and all those bits and pieces, which cause problems when you're trying to put things in, which I only know now because my son got diagnosed at about 12 or 13. I only know now that's probably what has.
It keeps happening. I've got dads that are taking their boys for ADHD tests. The assessor was asking the teenage boy and he's nodding and the dad's going, yes to all the questions next to him.
Yeah. I've done things like, I genuinely did this. We were booking flights up to my friend's wife's 40th in Scotland. So we weren't going far. And I booked me and Annie onto different planes. I still don't.
A bit intentional. I bet you cried all the way to the. How will I deal with this solitude and 9 beers?
That's what she said. Yeah. I still don't know how I did it, but so my organisation of that sort of stuff. I just panic and I can make really, really glaring mistakes.
You're like me. You're very lucky. You get to travel a lot for work to amazing places. What would you say is one of the most memorable places you've been to for work?
So I went around the world in a week for GMTV. We started in Agra. So started at the Taj Mahal. I was the first European journalist to broadcast live from the Taj Mahal, which was just extraordinary. Went from the Taj Mahal and then I think we went to Athens and we were in Athens for a day. We went to Tokyo for a day. And then we finished right in the middle of Australia at Uluru. Beautiful, stunning Uluru. And I was eating witchetty grubs with that as a backdrop at the end of this extraordinary week. We flew literally around the world in 5 days.
Quick answer. What does a witchetty grub actually taste like?
Like egg. Like it's like a raw egg. It wasn't, it was,
Oh, mate, I'd smash a couple of witchetties after
just
my
go
workout.
For breakfast.
Imagine that in your protein shake. Right, what is your second item?
So my second item is a rather strange contraption. This is definitely a symptom.
Are you sure they're not nunchucks? Because I'm pretty sure they're not legal.
This is something that I'm an absolute sucker for anything I see online.
What is it?
So this is called a feet up flex buddy.
Well, it looks like a pair of nunchucks. It's two thin rolling pins joined by a canvas strip.
Yeah. And essentially what you use this for is to stretch your hamstrings. So what you do is you get one of the rolling pins.
Yeah.
And you put it behind your feet like this. And then you just roll it up. And then you sit and you roll the other rolling pin, you roll the thing, and it just is the most beautiful stretch on your back and your hamstrings.
That is getting purchased within a nanosecond of this recording.
Honestly, this thing is that it goes everywhere with me, and you can just sit there. And if you're sitting on an aeroplane, you just get it out. You could do it feet down, feet up, whatever.
What an amazing bit of kit.
So simple and so transportable. And then suddenly, because you're on an airplane or whatever, you get tired and
it's important to stretch,
bunched up and all that sort of stuff. So this little buddy, my Flex buddy, has sorted out my back.
Great recommendation. Now, you famously run marathons, you've climbed mountains, tackled endurance challenges. We've spoke a bit about how you love doing fitness when you're abroad, but how much when you're planning your trip are you factoring that into the plan, or do you just get there with a bit of kit in your bag and solve it once you're there?
These days, it's often, where are we going to go? Is there going to be facilities where I can do stuff? Because what Annie knows is that I need that sort of distraction while I'm away. She can sit and read and chill out. And I like the idea of it, but the idea doesn't last very long in my head. I need to be busy and doing things. So the opportunity to go somewhere where there is some sort of activity to be done is hugely important.
A lot of guests are like, I'm happy, 14 days, sunbed. It's nice when we get an active guest. A destination you'd really recommend for people that love adventure and things like that. And even better if it's one where they can double up. So one can be on the sunbed and one can be off hiking.
One of the places that I've enjoyed in the past is going anywhere to the Balearics, anywhere to Mallorca or Menorca, and being able to go, and because there's so much amazing cycling and running around those places, particularly Mallorca now, and to sort of go there, but also, there's great beaches and great sort of poolside holidays you can have there, so you can chill and do that sort of stuff. Love Portugal. We play a lot of golf in our family now. So, the majority of the
resorts. Where in Portugal?
In Quinta, down to Villamora, Valdelobo, anywhere down in sort of my mother-in-law used to live out that way as well. So anywhere down that west coast. It's brilliantly set up.
Lisbon keeps coming up.
Lisbon is I filmed in Lisbon.
So underrated. It's an amazing city, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Porto is a beautiful city as well.
I've not been there. Would you recommend it?
One of the most amazing places I've ever filmed was the Douro Valley. The Douro Valley, I think years and years and years ago, it was voted like one of the top 3 views in the world. The Douro Valley is where they grow a load of the grapes.
Yeah.
And there's the River Douro, I think it is, runs from inland all the way out to Porto. There's a steam train that goes along it, and it's unbelievably stunning. There's a Taylor's Port Lodge out there. All the big port vineyards are out there as well. And it's absolutely stunning. Porto was extraordinary. And Lisbon's got this faded glory as well that's really magic. So you go in, you wander around, and it's got so much character and
another good candidate for a short break. People wouldn't think Porto for 2 nights.
No.
It's a good,
definitely.
Stick it on the itinerary. Now, you are a bit of an energizer bunny, so I'm interested. Have you gone anywhere? You got your fitness bands ready, you've got your skipping rope ready, and you've gone, no, I'm going to press pause. It's just taken you so aback. You've pressed pause and you've gone into serene, tranquil vibe.
Yeah, there's a couple of places. Just after lockdown, we went to the British Virgin Islands, and we went to a place called Little Dick's Bay.
I don't want to know who that's named after.
Well, as you can imagine, at the time the boys were early teens. We had a lot of fun with Little Dick's Bay. I'd had a really bad knee injury, so I couldn't do much running and I couldn't play golf. And we went to the British Virgin Islands, and that was absolutely extraordinary.
It's not come up before, British Virgin Islands.
It's a long way. You have to commit to going, because you fly in. I think we flew into Antigua, and then you have to small plane over to Virgin Gorda was the island that we were on. And Necker Island's just next to it, where Richard Branson famously has got his island.
Yeah.
Even now, when I think about the sea, the beaches, the place was incredible.
Sort of Maldivesy, or is it lush and St. Lucia?
It's more lush and St. Lucia than Maldivesy. It's definitely sort of more sort of there's high sort of. It's not big. I don't say mountains, but high hills and bits like that and stuff. And you can drive around. Virgin Gorda certainly, definitely very lush. And
check that out.
And then we've loved the Bahamas as well. Again, the Bahamas I did some filming years and years ago, and went round a lot of the Caribbean islands, and went back with Annie and the boys a few years ago.
So were you an adventurous kid, or have you built up that confidence over time?
I always was. The youngest of 3, big family, big extended cousins. So I was always keen to get out there, and I had a lot of energy as a kid. I was, all the traits that you would put down to any of those neurodiverse conditions now.
So are you saying sort of euphemistically, academically, you maybe found that more challenging?
I definitely found it more challenging. I did okay. I did, because I worked really, really hard at it, but definitely found that more challenging.
So can you reflect now back on that and think, I had needs that maybe weren't catered to academically?
You know, my mum was reading my reports back to me the other day, and she was saying Ben could be really, really great and really capable if only he could concentrate, if only he'd sit down, if only he'd listen, if only he'd stop talking. He's more interested in chatting to his mates and all of those sorts of things. And actually, I really valued the opportunity I got at school. My mum and dad made incredible sacrifices for me and my brother and sister to get a really great education. I had a music scholarship to go to a private school when I turned 12. I'd been in a state school till then. And I really understood the commitment and the sacrifice that they made for me to go. So I worked my effort, and they were brilliant, my parents, because all they ever said was, we don't care about your attainment grades. We just care about your effort grades. As long as we know you're trying really hard.
Way of putting it.
You know, and actually what I
wish that worked for comedy. Great effort. You were booed off.
But you tried really hard. Well done. 10 out of 10.
Bring that in for stand-up.
But what I get now is, had I had a little bit more support, had I not just been dismissed as a boy that doesn't concentrate, I probably would have found that path a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. Going back to your original question, I think, you know, if your propensity is to have that sort of ADHD-ness or whatever, you're willing to take risks. I was always the person.
You were born adventurous.
I was first over the fence. I was first through the door. I was the first one to I was the first to jump off the cliff.
Yes.
It was, you know, I was a bit of a loose cannon like that. And I was always keen to be like, I had no gauge to go, that's not a good idea.
But that can work in your favour with creativity. It's certainly with getting into live TV, but don't overthink things too much.
Don't overthink things, and being willing to make mistakes. Like I said this recently, I've never been frightened of embarrassing myself.
Talking of embarrassments, mistakes and risks, skiing. You went on skiing with your sons. How was that?
I love it because they are so much better than me.
Where did you go?
This year we went to St Anton. I learnt to ski in Scotland. So I learnt to ski up in the Cairngorms where you could barely see your skis in front of you because it was always so cold and wet and not particularly snowy, but absolutely loved it. I've loved skiing. We really found it again because it's something I love doing anything with the boys where it's working hard, we're training hard, learning a new skill, learning a technique, and your adrenaline's going. It's one of my favourite holidays now. I love it. I love just being on the mountain with them and flying around.
So kids and connection with kids through travel comes up a lot in these conversations. But I've just now thinking, I'm wondering, is that a travel hack to bring more connection, particularly with teenagers who famously normally don't want to see you? But when there's a skill you're both trying to solve together, does it sort of hack their desire to not be anywhere near you because you're learning and solving something together?
We enjoy, for example, skiing or golf. My third thing that I've got is I could bring it in now.
Let's do it.
I bought my golf club. I couldn't bring my golf clubs, but I bought my golf club because I was talking to Annie. I said, what would you take? And she said, you've got to take your golf clubs. Your golf clubs go everywhere with you. But golf has become such an important part of all of our lives and sharing it with the boys. And what I love about it, it's a bit like skiing, although they can use their phones because they're obviously filming us skiing and all that sort of stuff. But for 4.5 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is, we are just on the golf course together, beating ourselves up because we're hopeless and then hitting beautiful shots, but just being out there, being a bit more present. And it's a really, really important thing. It's a really bonding thing for the three of us.
And when did you get into golf?
I got into golf when I changed schools and I started playing golf with a couple of my mates about 14 and 15. My parents never played golf. It was never, they started playing golf when they retired. But my mates introduced it to me in my early teens. Didn't do a lot, played around sort of my late teens. Then started getting more into it with about my mid-20s. And now it's something that I absolutely love. And I love the fact that the boys at a much younger age can play golf because I think it's one of those sports. It's a bit like skiing. You meet people from different worlds. If they are golfers, you can start talking golf. It's really boring if you're not into golf. But if you love golf, talking to older people, younger people, golf courses they've played, what sort of clubs they use, what their gear is, what do they recommend? Yeah. It's an amazing sort of way of connecting young and old through the skill and the
Lingua
sport.
Franca. Denise Van Outen, massive golf fan.
Ben's a huge golf fan.
I asked how you got into it because she got into it. She always learns something new when she splits up with someone. So she learns a new thing as a distraction from an emotionally turbulent period.
Her DJing was that as well, right?
Yeah. So if ever I go through anything like that, I'm sort of under the duvet watching Netflix. But heaven forbid I'm ever going through anything like that again. I'm going to throw myself into a skill.
Yes, distract yourself. My youngest, who's 18, he will stay in bed as long as he can. The eldest is sort of quite keen to get out there and go and do stuff. So if I say, we've got a golf tea time booked at 9:30, great, I'm there. And he'll be up and we'll be out.
Good hack that.
So finding that thing you can do together that's not on their phones or that sort of stuff.
Yes.
It's definitely
I'll
something.
I'll be stealing that one as well. It's already a battle. She's only 9. So the other battle with being adventurous, if you're born and bred British, is the palate, the food. Are you adventurous with what you eat as well?
Yeah, I'm sort of very easily pleased. as well, Russell, to be honest. I don't mind what it is, but I'll give everything a go. I think the only thing I wouldn't have again was tripe. Tripe is the only thing.
And that is, ironically, a British staple back in the day.
But they have, I think, they have a nickname. They're called Trapirosh. I think they're called the Tripe Eaters. Whether it's Lisbon or Porto, I can't quite remember. I can remember doing a piece to camera talking about this. And they gave me some tripe. And I really struggled with the tripe.
Yeah.
The hairy, greasy nature of the tripe didn't go down particularly well. Other than that, but I'd give it, and it's the only thing I've said to the boys. We said growing up, I don't mind if you don't like it, as long as you try it.
What was your travel experiences growing up? Were your parents like going abroad, or was it Devon and Cornwall?
It was Cornwall. My family are in Cornwall, so it was Cornwall. I didn't go on an aeroplane till I think I was 13 years old.
And where did you go?
We went to Corsica. Just an island south of France.
Also somewhere people should go, don't you think?
Oh, what an amazing place. The Mountain in the Sea, I think it's called, isn't it?
Interesting place. The history of it.
Napoleon was born there.
Part Italian, part French, but also there was an independence movement. It's its own vibe.
And an amazing holiday. But the most exciting thing, and it was beautiful going to a stunning place, but sitting on an aeroplane for the first time was extraordinary. We used to drive. If we went abroad, we'd drive and we'd take a ferry to France.
Yeah.
So for years we'd go for 2 weeks, but 3 days driving down to the south of France or somewhere in France to La Rochelle and camping.
Yeah.
And then 3 days driving back and all that.
The same places.
Yeah.
I loved Corsica. It absolutely blew me away. I think I just saw a flight, went there with no expectation, went with my ex-girlfriend, and it was just absolutely beautiful place. Yeah. Right, we got some quick fire questions to hit you with here. Although both of us talk for a living. Let's call them medium fire.
I was going to say.
This will be difficult for you because I can't imagine the amount of people you've met. I'm not going to allow you to pick someone you work with regularly. Oh. You've got to take the word dream here. Dream celeb travel partner.
Do you know what we had in today that I'd love to go away with because he's just such a Sam Ryder.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a talented young man.
Favourite holiday activity? I'm not going to let you have golf or exercise.
Favourite holiday activity? I do love being on the water. So wakeboarding, water skiing, sailing, windsurfing, kite surfing. Kite surfing is the sport I think I was born to do and I'm hopeless at.
Kite surfing.
And I would love to do more kite surfing.
Sounds terrifying. First thing on your plate at a buffet, and more interestingly, how do you navigate this? Because I like to work out in the morning, but when I'm all-inclusive, particularly if it's a juicy, lovely all-inclusive, repping 5 teas or something, I want to smash the breakfast, but then I know I can't because I want to hit my workout. How do you navigate that?
Omelette station.
Yeah.
Straight to the omelette station.
Well, do you work out after an omelette?
I can work out on food or work out off food. I don't have to worry about that. So
you hit the omelette station like a boss.
Omelette station.
So first thing you play, omelette. Biggest travel ick?
I think vests on an aeroplane.
That's a great one.
Do you know what I mean?
I think Samuel L. Jackson should have made that movie. I gotta get the vests off the plane. That's you. I think that's the British remake with Ben Shephard. Vests on a plane.
Vests on an aeroplane. I don't think you should have to touch someone else's skin.
That is going up there, Ben. That's one of the best ones we've had. Go to holiday karaoke song.
Bit of Elvis, Jailhouse Rock, something like that.
Early Elvis.
Early Elvis.
Yes, we're twinning. Thoughts on clapping when the plane lands?
If you feel like you want to clap, go for your life.
Somewhere new or same place?
There's so much left to discover and look at, though, so probably somewhere new.
Which leads on to the next question. Bucket list holiday destination. Somewhere that you want to go that you haven't been yet.
And I wasn't even there for 24 hours. I was probably there for 5 hours. We did go to Japan and we went to Tokyo. I would love to go back to Japan.
Yeah, me too.
I just feel like I need to explore Japan. I love rugby, and the Rugby World Cup out in Japan looked incredible. I love everything about the culture. Really love the food. I'd love to go there for the cherry blossom at some point to experience that. And a really good friend of mine skied in Japan, so it's incredible. I think Japan would be on the bucket list.
Go to holiday drink. Are you a bit of a drinker?
Yeah, I like a drink. I do like a drink. I love a cold beer. Yeah. I look with just the condensation dripping down.
Any cocktails, spicy margs, cosmopolitan.
I do love a creamy cocktail when I'm on holiday.
Mudslide.
For sure.
Mudslide is the ultimate cheek day cocktail.
But I also love like a Negroni as well.
Yes.
I feel like a bit more sophisticated.
Second time that's come up in this series, the Negroni, popular drink. Best beach destination you've ever been to? Now, I know you want to dump the sunbed and run off into the hills, but if you were going to go to a beach, which one would you choose?
I'd love to go back to Little Dick's Bay. I just feel at home there for some reason. Well, there was.
Let's leave that one there. That's the trailer.
There's reef and there's turtles.
Yeah.
And it's wonderfully named.
Most surprising destination you've ever been to where you've got there and you just thought, wow, that is nothing like I was anticipating.
So I've done this twice. I've done it on a stag do and then I did it for work. And the stag do was brilliant fun, but I thought, well, I don't need to go back there. But then I went for work and realised how beautiful it is as a city, and that's Prague. I went back. They had the World Club final when I was working for Sky Sports, and we did. I think it was Chelsea against one of the Spanish sides, and so I was there for the weekend. And I just suddenly realised, having done it as a stag do, you can imagine I was quite distracted. I didn't see a lot of it, and then you suddenly wander around. I think
it is stunning, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love Prague as a city. Very good break that. And lastly, best travel memory. If you had to pick, is it one of your 18-year-old adventures? Is it something with the boys? Is it something more recent? Is it something travel-based? Is it Taj Mahal? Like, what would you, if you just pull your first travel memory to mind and go, that is my best?
So I've got tons of, obviously, family memories. Being with the family in all those amazing places is really, really special. I do have an incredible picture in my mind of the full moon party in Koh Phangan when I was 19,
Yes.
19, and just the sun coming up, and this guy had swum out to this rock not far off the beach, and there was a sort of the dying embers of a bonfire going here. The music was still going, and this guy's just dancing, and I can just see that picture now. And I can remember sitting there thinking, this is so different from growing up in Essex and sitting there and suddenly being on this tropical beach and watching this person dance away. I've still got that silhouette in my mind now. I can see it straight away.
Man, Shephard, we have literally travelled the world. Thank you very much. Anything else? Obviously, we see you almost every day on the TV, we on the covers of magazines, but anything else coming up that you can tease us about? You're about to do anything
tell you what I can tease you about,
insane,
which is definitely part of the travel thing, is I filmed a series for ITV, which is coming out later on this year, hopefully, called The Summit. And we filmed it down in the South Island, New Zealand. And I don't know if you've ever been to New Zealand. Well, you must have done gigs in New Zealand.
No, I haven't. I've toured Australia.
Russell!
There's talk of it in February.
Oh my goodness
There's
me.
talk of Wellington and Auckland in February.
You have to go to New Zealand.
I've been resisting just because
No.
my daughter's age. I miss so much, you know.
Take it with you.
Yeah.
Find an excuse. Go to New Zealand.
Okay.
It's the most extraordinary, but the South Island particularly. The North Island's amazing.
The South Island,
The South
Wellington
Island. No, so Wellington's at the north, at the top of the South Island.
My auntie lives in Auckland, so I've got an auntie
So
out there.
Auckland's right at the top of the North Island,
Yeah.
South Island, and go down to. We stayed in a place called Glenorchy that was just next to Queenstown. Honestly, the most jaw-dropping country you will ever go to.
A bloody New Zealand.
You've got to tour New Zealand.
What's the summit about? Just very quickly.
Summit is 14 members of the public trying to climb a mountain. It's a reality show.
Sounds
going up a
bloody
mountain.
brilliant.
They've got to get to the top of Mount Head. And the ones that get to the summit will share the money that they're carrying on the way up. They've got all these ridiculous challenges to do along the way.
Thank you so much for joining us for Pack Your Bags with Tui. And believe it or not, that's a wrap on Series 2. But the adventure doesn't stop there. You've got 2 full seasons to dive into, packed with brilliant guests like Paul C. Brunson, Sue Perkins, Larry Lamb, Rob Beckett, Jason Fox. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for sharing all your memories. Thank you to all the guests. It's been an amazing ride. And until next time, happy travels!